Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and been looking forward to our guest today, Anton Chaitkin. He is the author of a fascinating book. It's called Who Are We? Or Who We Are, excuse me, got to get that right. Who We Are, America's Fight for Universal Progress. It's a two-volume history that challenges the mainstream narrative of America's founding, development, and decline. He's also the co-author of George Bush, the unauthorized biography, and served as a history editor there and executive intelligence review from 95 to 2015. His father, a New York attorney, and famously fought the U.S. courts to expose and stop Wall Street and London's financial support of Hitler's dictatorship. Boy, there's quite a history here. So a couple of things. There is a picture of the cover of the book on the screen there, Who We Are. And again, he has a website, Anton Chaitkin, CHAITKIN.com. There you go. Anton, good to see you. How are you, friend?
Hello. Very good to be with you, Perry.
Thank you. Where are you? Where are we Skyping you in from?
I'm about 35 miles west of Washington, D.C.
Just on the other side of the moat.
Yeah, that's right.
What provoked you to go back and write this?
Well, I noted that I'm a patriot and a dissenter in the introduction to Volume 2. Volume 3 I'm starting to work on now. That takes it up to Kennedy. And I'm a patriot of the United States of America and the heritage of the good that it's done to ourselves and the world. And I'm a dissenter from the globalists, the transatlantic banking and intelligence faction that has usurped power over our country, and a dissenter against the crimes committed by that regime against our own people and against other countries. I believe in redemption strongly for this country and for other countries that may be committing crimes under this globalist empire of crime and deindustrialization. There's no future in it, and we do have a future if we look back at the great achievements that America has been responsible for: invention, discovery, and making a higher living standard than other countries for our people, along with committing some crimes. And we have to look at both sides of this and look to the good that we've done and say, let's do that in the future. Let's have a better world for the future. Looking at our past will give us the ability to do that.
Okay, there's a lot here. A couple of just basic questions, Anton, and that is, how did this globalist thinking creep its way into the United States? Number one, and number two, do you think it's now finally being exposed for what it really is?
Well, this goes back to the founding of the country at a time when in our revolution we had Tories who didn't agree with having an independent country. What was the mission of those who led the revolution? Benjamin Franklin and George Washington, notably. They saw that in England there was an industrial revolution. Ben Franklin had been over there helping them do that. Spark plug of it. And so we needed to get the powers of steam and of metalworking and of building up a high living standard based on manufacturing. And the British Empire said, no, we're not going to allow any other country to do that. We needed sovereignty. And this globalism is the enemy faction, the East India Company faction, the British Empire faction, and their friends who were in our country, within our country, first the Tories, maybe in Boston and South Carolina. They never agreed that the U.S. should rise and maintain its independence. And you see this throughout our country's history. Now, when Donald Trump ran for president in 2016, he shocked this globalist establishment, these usurpers who really took power after the murder of the Kennedy brothers. So he shocked them by saying, look, we're going to challenge their system. He didn't use the expression system, but he did this with the idea of having tariffs, protectionism to revive U.S. industry, and to normalize relations with Russia, to cancel, to try to cancel the permanent war scenario of the empire. Both of these are part of the same reversion to U.S. national interest. And this establishment was panicking. By the establishment, you got to be clear, we're talking about, for example, the intelligence agencies. These are the so-called Five Eyes, the joint agencies of the English-speaking countries now plus Israel. And this is not representing the interests of any of those countries, certainly not our country. It's a permanent war chaos scenario. What's the other part of that establishment? It's the banking system of offshore multinational banks and international banks. One of those, in particular, is a major criminal enterprise exposed as such by the U.S. Senate in 2012 that was looking at the Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank, HSBC, which launders the drug money of the Mexican cartels. Senator Carl Levin in Michigan headed up the subcommittee that did the report. Barack Obama said, no, we can't close down this bank. We have to change the subject. They're responsible for crimes. Russia is also trying to go after them. There was a unit of the HSBC in Russia, the Heritage Bank over there, headed up by Browder, and Russia was prosecuting them for crimes that they were committing there. So U.S. and Russia had joint interests in going after this establishment banking operation that was poisoning and murdering Americans with the drug gangs and with the importation of drugs. The Russians were going after them too. So Barack Obama, as president in 2012, said, no, we're not going to shut down this bank. We're not going to withdraw their charter, as Senator Levin called for. What we're going to do is charge Russia with human rights violations, specifically for going after this bank. And we will pass a law through the Congress called the Magnitsky Act, which singles out Russia, not communist Russia as in the old days, but post-communist Russia, singles them out for an attack that then escalated up to the present time. So he changed the subject to protect the globalism. Don't blame just Obama for this, and don't make this a partisan issue. What we're talking about is the control of our country by a system, intelligence, banking, and other parts, cultural, many parts of this, a system that is not our system. Our system is the Constitution. This system is wildly anti-Christian. It's against the Ten Commandments in every way. And we believe in our country in redemption. Our country should redeem itself, do good works now, normalize relations with the other countries, get our own affairs in order with our own credit from our country directed not by these banks but by our country's institutions to make sure we put credit into productive measures and into using tariffs and so forth. But we have to redeem ourselves now by breaking off from this globalist system, and that's the real issue there.
Okay, so couple things. We now are waking up to what you're talking about. I don't know if we're fully awake, but it's being exposed. It's being exposed.
It's been exposed. That's right. But we have to see what the people can do, and not just waiting to see whether President Trump follows through or whether he caves into it, or he's so much surrounded by these globalists that he can't do anything. We can't just wait for that and play spectators. We have to see our country as having a mission as we had with our founding, and say
Okay.
we have a right to a high standard of living and not to be committing crimes by sending bombs all over the world to cause chaos and suffering. That's not our system. That's not our country.
First term of President Trump, he was surrounded by those people. Second term, he seems to have cleaned that crowd out, and he sees something. He may be seeing what you talk about. However, what is it about what Donald Trump saw as a young man before he became president that was such a threat to those who subscribe to this globalism?
Anybody who is doing anything, I'm not going to talk about Trump's early days. I don't know that much about it, but anyone who looks to the normal operations, the normal investments, the normal objectives of legitimate enterprise is a threat to the system. If they say, well, I need credit for that, I need to have the backup of the country. That's right there a threat. But let's look at right now. You're talking about whether we're on the right path. The globalist establishment within the Pentagon, within the intelligence services, within the media, and so forth, and in England and elsewhere, they say that we must go back on the path that Biden was pursuing for a nuclear war threat. We have to go to the brink of nuclear war on every front. They want a three-front war going on against Russia, against China, and against Iran, or some other place that they would press on. So you cannot simply react to each piece of news. How's Trump doing? Are the globalists on the run? Are we attacking them by shutting down the woke nonsense and the LGBT nonsense? No, you have to address the truth of the matter that these people want to take down civilization. The very idea of industrial countries that aim at the higher living standard that industry and science and things like the space program and nuclear power and formerly the steam engine even, they don't want any of that because it creates a population that's skilled, that's literate, including farmers who are scientific. A scientific population that's independent-minded will not tolerate having these globalists and other tyrants like that running their lives. So that's it. That's it. These guys want to take down the whole civilization that we've achieved in 600 years since the Dark Ages. They don't agree with it. They want to lower the population by about 3/4 or 9/10. We can't let them have this power. And it's not enough to say, well, we opposed them on some cultural issue. You have to face the question of the power of our country to do good in the world. That's the issue. Do we have that right? We should go be in the Middle East helping develop nuclear power plants all over there, joint programs for desalting water. That was Kennedy's program. That was Eisenhower's program. That was Franklin Roosevelt's program. The same idea was in Lincoln. The same idea really goes all the way back to our founding fathers. The hand of friendship to every country. If somebody attacks us like some terrorist group, then you have to handle that in a wise way. Don't just jump into conflict and fall into the trap that this satanic globalist faction, and they really are, that's their point of view. You can't just fall into their trap. You have to say, what's our mission? Who are we? How do we get influence? Our influence is in problem solving. We have the problem of, lack of fresh water. The world's covered with water. Move the rivers, desalt the water, lack of energy. Don't fall for the green agenda insofar as it's simply taking civilization down. That's stupid. We need intense energy for modern industrial civilization. We need hot energy for steel making and for the kind of rockets that you need to really do the deep space program. You have to accelerate to go to Mars all the way. And that takes a hot engine beyond chemical rockets. We used to be working on things like that.
Okay.
So that's our mission, is improvement. And we can't tolerate having globalists running our intelligence and our media and all of that.
Okay, let me take a quick break. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, check out his book, Who We Are, America's Fight for Universal Progress. There's a picture of the cover of the book on the screen there. He does have a website, Anton Chaitkin, and that's CHAITKIN.com is his website. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. And our guest today is Anton Chaitkin, CHAITKIN. He's the author of a book entitled Who We Are, America's Fight for Universal Progress. You check that out online. He also has a website, and that is his name, AntonChaitkin.com. Boy, there's a lot here. Let me ask you this. I get what you're saying. I understand it. I think we've seen some progress on the exposure of this whole thing of globalism. Are we making any progress in pushing back?
We are, in the fact that the public is now known in our country and really activist populations throughout the world to be opposed to the wars and to the suppression of our normal human creativity that would lead to higher living standards. So the public doesn't want this regime. It's clear. That's how they voted. That's why they voted for Trump. And that's why they don't want the established the cliques that run both political parties that have run them for quite some time. Look, the thing that made our country quite unique was expressed very well in the Declaration of Independence. Our independence was based on a philosophical idea that all men are created equal and that God is the one who created them with rights. And that means that implies both the Christian idea that all men are of one blood in this world, and that we have a mission as a country to promote the welfare and betterment and improvement of our own people, and that we would look with, kindly eyes on similar rise of other countries. That's all implied in our world famous Declaration of Independence.
Right.
Teddy Roosevelt changed that. He didn't agree with Lincoln when Lincoln revived that idea. He said Teddy Roosevelt explicitly rejected as naive the idea that all men are created equal. And he said, we need an empire, and we will be a brother empire under the guidance of the British Empire, which he commended for ruling over these subject peoples. That was a grievous blow. Teddy Roosevelt and McKinley were enemies, deepest enemies. And I'll tell you that the anarchist movement, which was based in London, killed the president of the United States, McKinley, to put Teddy Roosevelt in power. This is very similar to the Lincoln assassination, and similar to later on the Kennedy assassination, in favor of these globalist the imperial faction. So Teddy Roosevelt put us on the wrong path. And this is something that both parties, Republicans and Democrats, who now revere Teddy Roosevelt as if he were some sort of strong American. He hated what America stood for, which is not war and conquest. Look at what we did with the Indians. When we killed Indians in a community of agricultural people, that was a crime. When we built up our nation coast to coast, that's not a crime. We needed to do that to establish the power of an independent republic. You didn't need to do the crime of slaughtering people. We killed thousands more times many Indians as they killed white settlers. But Teddy Roosevelt boasted about it and said that's our system, just like a leftist will say there's nothing else to the United States except killing Indians and enslaving black people. In my work and my research, I've shown the two factions in our country's history. The builders of our country, who were nationalists, who had a humane idea of building up a higher living standard, building steel industry, building electrical industry. This was never the bankers from Wall Street and London. It was nationalists who did these things. On the other side were the imperial faction who said man is just a beast. And America is an upstart country that's spreading a dangerous philosophy that every human being on this earth is entitled to rise the way America is rising. And so these are the two factions all throughout our history. The imperial globalist faction, which is slave owners, Northeastern financiers, and London, the city of London people, versus our side, who built all the industries. I've proved that. That never did any of these cruel speculators, like so-called robber barons, they did not build the industries. The industries were actually invented and built by patriots who were interested in not only in private profit. Yes, they needed that to do their job, but also they were interested in building up the power of the country. On the other side, they said, no, we should never have industrialized this country. And they don't want any other country to industrialize. That's the British Empire idea. So right now, should we say that China or Russia or Iran should not rise in their industrial and scientific power, and they shouldn't help Africa to do that? I think that that's wrong thinking. How about making the United States go back to rising? Get our power reestablished, our real influence, build us up, and then we take our place again as a leader of world thought. We have a beautiful constitution. We can share that with the rest of the world if we're actually adhering to it ourselves.
Okay, so
we have something to offer.
I'm understanding the essence of your argument. I really am. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is there seems to be, A, an awakening, B, a pushback. Granted, it's probably not at the speed you'd like to see or anybody else see, but it seems that the cover is being pulled back on globalism, and a lot of people don't like it, to your point. It's being exposed. I think probably climate change is one of the big things that is going to be exposed by all of this. It's interesting, though, when you look at the monetary side of things, the dollar's still pretty solid out there. And that's got to frustrate them to some extent, don't you think?
I think that the dollar is a refuge, just like gold is a refuge. But the real issue is what is the influence of the world? How do we establish the dollar as a powerful currency? When we set up the country, we didn't have our own money. The way this was established was by the Washington and Hamilton regime, administration, committing the United States to industrialize and build up the productive power of the country. You can only pay your debts if you're actually generating income based on real production and real profit, not simply skimming something off of loot.
No, I understand.
So if we return to our productive way of life, but that's a huge reconstruction job. We should be reconstructing this country and helping to repair the damage that our bombs have done in other countries as well.
Okay, but
we can scheme ourselves in this way. That will make the dollar give the dollar a permanent place in the world.
But aren't we beginning to do that, Anton? I mean, we're the tariff issue, wherever you are with that. But the point being is, we're bringing a lot of manufacturing back. We're bringing a lot of industrial complex back into the United States. It seems like the flow is switching in our favor.
What do we need to reestablish manufacturing? We need, first of all, state-of-the-art infrastructure.
Yeah.
Our trains that carry freight go 25 miles an hour. In China, they go 200 miles an hour. We do not have the kind of energy grid, including nuclear power plants, and industrial centers that we need. This is a huge program of credit, scientific progress, and tariffs as well, and reciprocal benefit tariffs. All of those things are part of it, but you can't simply say that tariffs by themselves will do it. You have to say, look, we made a terrible error back in the 60s and 70s when we allowed these criminals to close down our manufacturing to seek cheap labor. We're not a cheap labor country. That's not to our benefit. It's not to the benefit of anybody
Right.
to have cheap labor.
Well, listen, I'm out of time. Let me start our viewers and listeners. He puts us all together in his book, Who We Are, America's Fight for Universal Progress. There's a picture of the cover of the book on the screen. He does have a website, Anton Chaitkin, CHAITKIN.com. Where can they get the book? Is the book online?
Yeah, sure. You can get Kindle or it's on Amazon, paperback or Kindle. The second volume just came out. It's 600 pages, 48 pages of pictures. This is a reference book for people that want to fight to get our country back, and it's for homeschoolers in particular. They'll really enjoy it.
Great.
And the third volume will be out, I would say, by next year. I'm working very hard on getting this up through the 20th century.
Okay, good. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
You bet.